But we don't learn our lessons. We don't learn our lessons. When our people were in Madrid, in the Madrid conference, I heard a story about how I think the Syrian ambassador was talking to the Israeli ambassador, and he said to him, you know, mister, I don't think you really believe that Israel belongs to you. And the Israeli said, what are you talking about? Of course I believe it belongs to me. He said, if you really believed it belonged to you, you wouldn't be here discussing it with me now. The Arabs know better than we do what's going on here. They really do. Mm-hmm. They see our weakness. They see our unwillingness to stand up to our own destiny, and they take advantage of it. Why shouldn't they? Arabs are being Arabs, and Jews have forgotten how to be Jews. Mm. The Arabs are our punishment. The Arabs were sent to us to define what we're supposed to be doing. If you listen to every one of their lies, there are truths. Not 1 inch, they say, of our holy land will we give away. You never heard a Jew talk like that. God made them say that, so we'd listen, maybe we'd learn something, but we don't listen, and we don't learn. And we're not going to make peace by spitting in the face of God, by trying to undo miracles. He makes miracles, and we try to undo them to make peace. Peace is one of God's names, and you don't make peace by spitting in God's face. It just isn't done that way. I have my own little organization. It's not a real, I call it an organization, it's not even, it's me. It's one guy. I'm doing an impossible thing. All by myself. I come for maybe 2 weeks every year, hoping to find a Jewish audience and talk them into thinking about coming home. It's a crazy thing. First of all, nobody in their right mind would leave a beautiful country like this with security and wealth and contentment to go move to a land where it looks like it's going to be destroyed tomorrow, where they have to serve in the army, where they have to learn a new language. You got to be crazy to do that. But the thing is, my country of Israel is not a normal country. Rationality doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in Israel. It's a supernatural entity. Its very existence defies nature. It should never have happened in the first place. In 1948, what were the chances of the thing surviving? Many of the leaders didn't even want to declare statehood. They were afraid it couldn't be done. And what did the Arabs want in 1948? You know, when we had the partition plan, what did we have in 48? Nothing. We agreed and the Arabs didn't. What would happen if they agreed? Then we really would have been in a mess today. Mm-hmm. Everything we have is because of our Arab enemies. It's crazy. Do you know that I wouldn't be able to live in Kiryat Arba today if King Hussein would have listened to Golda Meir in 1967 when she said, we have no quarrels with you, stay out of the war? Mm-hmm. If he would have listened to her and stayed out of the war, he would have had Judea and Samaria. He would have had Hebron, where I live. But he took that as a sign of weakness. He thought that he could defeat us with all of his neighbors. And he jumped right in, and of course he was defeated. And now I can live in the city of Abraham, the Arab city of Abraham, the first capital of the Jewish nation, where David ruled as king for 7.5 years before the throne moved to Jerusalem, where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried with their wives, where Adam and Eve are buried. That's an Arab town. That's the source of our country. It's the beginning of our country. What are we talking about? Even Sharon once said, if any other nation had a landmark like this, it would be the first place they would take visitors to see. The Alamo, that's our the old building. The Cave of Machpelah is 10 times older than the Alamo. And people are still using that building, and it's a magnificent structure. I pray in that building every single day, every morning. I go there before dawn, as Abraham used to do. My son made history there almost 30 years ago, about 28 years ago. We were not permitted to pray in the larger hall that was set aside for the Arabs. And on the Shabbat, when Jews would come down to pray, they only had these little tiny rooms or the outside courtyard. And so the Jews had been asking the military, for at least on Shabbat, they should allow us to pray in the large hall too. And just before we moved in to Kiryat Arba, they permitted us to pray there on Shabbat. And my son was born on a Shabbat, and of course, the circumcision is held 8 days after. So it also came out on Shabbat. So we were in that room on Shabbat when we performed the Brit Milah, the circumcision ceremony. And I only later discovered that my son was the very first Jew ever to have been circumcised in that hall. A building over 2,000 years old. We made history. How can you make history in a 2,000-year-old building? It's an amazing thing. So I have a connection to that place, and a very strong one. And as I say, every morning I go to pray there. And I can't accept all of this nonsense about Arab lands and how we have to give away this and give away that. How can we give away that which was given to us by God? What right do we have to give it away? We have none. It's a sin to even talk about it. That's a sin. It's like spitting in God's face. If we can see the miracles, then we can see that God is doing things in our world today. And miracles are not just limited to the Jewish people. Of course, we have a major role to play in what's happening in the world today. The concept of redemption, of bringing true peace to the world by serving God, by being the example to the nations of the world. That's our destiny.